Hello. Welcome to Fortune from Fae Tarot and Oracle card readings. Today is just an Oracle card reading, and we're going to be doing it based on the Fairy Tale Oracle deck, which is just really beautiful. Here's a picture of the box to show you. What I'm going to do is we're going to have three fairy tales that we're going to pick from. Three fairy tales that we're going to use, and I'm going to get you to pick. I'll shuffle the deck, see which three fall out first, and that's going to be the three we use. And then whichever fairy tale you pick is your reading. Come on, cards. Let's see. So this is just a random reading for whenever it finds you. It's a timeless one. It's not for a specific month or a specific star sign. It's just if you pick this up. So we've got Beast. So we've got Beauty and the Beast. We've got Little Red Riding Hood. And we've got Wild Swans. Okay. Bear with me while I just get these organised, and I will pick. We'll pick some more cards to go with those, and then that's going to be your reading. So I'd like you to either pick Little Red Riding Hood, Wild Swans, or Beauty and the Beast, please, if you can. And just pop in the comments what ones you've picked, please. One, two, three. Be one more in here somewhere. Yeah, please let us know where you're listening to this. Anything like that. Any information is much appreciated. Let me know what you think. Do you like this style of reading? Ah, there we go. Little Red Riding Hood. Okay. So these cards here, we're not going to use at all. They're just telling us what fairy tale we picked. And then I'm going to pick two cards out of this. We're going to have two cards from here, which is going to be what your reading is. Right. We're going to have these two for this one. A Little Red Riding Hood. We've got that one. And that one. And for Wild Swans, we're going to have this one and this one. Okay. So for Beauty and the Beast, just going to give you a bit of a reminder of what the stories are as well. Don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole thing out. So once there was a merchant who lost his wealth when his ships were wrecked by storm. He and his children were forced to live in a small farmhouse and work to support themselves. The merchant heard that one of his ships had escaped destruction, so he asked his children what gift he could bring back for them, and set out to meet the ship. His older daughters requested jewels, but his youngest simply wanted a rose. On his way home, the merchant became lost in the forest. While looking for shelter, he found a castle empty of all people. In the morning, he plucked a rose from the garden, but was confronted by a terrifying beast. The merchant begged for mercy, and the beast agreed to let him go, but only if his daughter returned in his place. The beast gave Beauty everything she wanted, except being allowed to return home. Every night he asked Beauty to marry him, but she refused each time. She begged to be allowed home to visit her family and eventually agreed on the condition that she returned exactly 7 days later. Beauty set off home with two items: a mirror that allowed her to see what was happening back at the Beast's castle, and a ring that allowed her to return to the castle when turned 3 times. Envious of her luxurious life at the castle, Beauty's sister begged her not to go back. Her heart was moved by her sister's false show of love, but feeling guilt about breaking her promise, she looked in the magic mirror and was horrified to see the Beast lying half dead from heartbreak in the rose garden. She immediately used the ring to return to the Beast and told him that she loved him and would marry him. Once she gave her consent, the Beast was transformed back into a man. Right, so we've got the rose. So love is worth the risk. You need to take a risk to actually emotionally connect people. You cannot stay stay back and not connect with people and just not take any risk. There's always a risk with it because it might not even be something that's their fault that causes the pain. It can be the pain of losing someone, but it is worth taking that risk to open yourself up to life, and you've got to open yourself up to feel life. We're here for a human experience. You're not here for an easy time necessarily. You're here for a human experience, and go experience life. It's important. Got the magic ring, constancy. Let's just see. 15. Drawing the magic ring is a sign that constancy and faithfulness are now required. It can sometimes be hard to keep a promise, yet fidelity is vital in building trust and belief in you. Honouring the promises you've made will means you'll be rewarded. So yeah, if you've made a promise to someone to do something, or a promise to yourself even, you have to stick to them, because otherwise you're not actually you're being untrue to yourself. So yeah, stick to your promises, even though it's sometimes quite hard to do. And take those risks. If you don't risk things, your emotions, all that type of thing, you won't know how good it could be. Also, the other thing is, if you haven't experienced the real lows of life, then you don't experience the highs of life as someone who has really experienced a low of life. So yeah, there's that as well. We've got Little Red Riding Hood. 32. Okay. Once there was a girl whose grandmother had sewn her a red riding hood that she loved so much she wore it all the time and began to be named for it. One day her mother asked Little Red Riding Hood to take her sick grandmother some cake and wine, and warned her not to stray off the path. However, the girl met a wolf in the forest, who tempted her to wander off in search of flowers. The wolf raced to grandmother's house and tricked his way inside, where he devoured the old woman. He dressed in her nightgown and nightcap, hopped into bed, and waited for Little Red Riding Hood. She would arrive soon. And the famous dialogue between the girl and wolf ensued. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have, all the better to hear you with. Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have, all the better to see you with. Oh, grandmother, what big hands you have, all the better to grab you with. Oh, grandmother, what big teeth you have, all the better to eat you with." The wolf jumped out of bed, seized poor Red Riding Hood, and gobbled her up. Soon after, the huntsman came by the house, looked through the window, and saw the wolf dressed in grandma's clothing, snoring in her bed. Guessing what happened, the huntsman slit open the sleeping wolf's stomach with a pair of scissors, and found Little Red and her grandmother trapped inside. He released them, and Little Red filled the wolf's stomach with stones and sewed up the slit. When the wolf woke up, he tried to run away, but the stones were too heavy, and he fell down dead. Grandmother, granddaughter, and huntsman lived happily ever thereafter. Okay, so we've got the wolf. Don't be afraid of your wild side. So if you picked Red Riding Hood, don't be afraid of your wild side. You need to learn to embrace your dark side. You might need to go and do some shadow work, though, to learn to accept yourself for being you, because it's easy to accept the easy parts of ourselves, but it's harder to sometimes accept the difficult parts that we don't like. So learn to love yourself. Get a shadow journal, or you can Google shadow journal questions, but it'll ask you deeper, dark questions about yourself. Because if someone else comes along and goes, "You're really awkward," you could go, "Yes, I am, and I know that. That's not a surprise to me." So it is very useful in some ways to actually know who you are and know what you want, but know who you are completely and accept yourself for who you are. And if you do find there's something you're not happy with, you can work on that. You don't have to accept that. If that's something you want to work on, you can work on it to improve yourself. Crossroads, choose your way. You're going to have some sort of decision coming up. You're going to have to make a decision on what journey you want to go on and what path you're going to be taking. And it will really help you to do that if you know who you are and what you're about, what you're doing. So the last one we got here is Wild Swans, which I think is the last one in this book. Okay. In Wild Swans, a jealous stepmother. Oh, hang on. There it is. Far, far away, there lived a king with 11 sons and one daughter, Alyssa. One day, the king married a wicked queen who sent Alyssa away and then turned the princes into swans. With a weird cry, they flew out the palace window far away into the wide world. Years later, Alyssa set out to find her brothers, wandering for days through the forest until she met an old woman. When Alyssa asked if she'd seen 11 princes, the old woman answered that she had seen 11 swans that wore golden crowns. Alyssa hurried to where the old woman indicated, and at sunset she saw 11 white swans with golden crowns on their heads flying towards her. The swans alighted and threw off their feathers and stood there, Alyssa's brothers. She asked them, "How shall I set you free?" But her brothers could not tell her. That night, the old woman came to Alyssa in a dream and told her to break the curse. She must gather stinging nettles and spin and weave them into shirts to throw over the swans, all without uttering a single sound. When Alyssa woke, she gathered the nettles. For weeks she toiled in silence. One day she heard the blast of the hunting horn. A king found her, wanted to marry her, and took her back to his home. The archbishop shook his head and whispered that she must be a witch to have stolen the king's heart. The wedding took place even though the queen still had not spoken a word. Every night she crept away from the king's side into her chamber, where she wove one shirt after another. Soon, though, she had no more nettles, so she went at midnight to the graveyard, gathered armfuls of nettles that grew there. The archbishop saw her and told the king, and she must be a witch to do such a thing. The king refused to believe it at first, but after he saw her visit the graveyard at midnight, he thought it must be true. Alyssa was condemned to die by fire. She kept on spinning and weaving right up to the very last moment. And before the fire was lit, 11 swans flew down and made a ring around the cart with their great white wings. Alyssa threw the nettle shirts over the swans, which transformed them into boys. However, the youngest brother had a swan's wing in place of an arm because the sleeve was missing from his shirt. Okay, so what have we got? The swan, creative inspiration, and the flame. Ooh, so you've got some sort of creativity going on. There's a very arty person, I feel. Yeah, it says here, write a song or poem or draw or paint a picture. Whatever you want to do, whatever you're thinking of doing creatively, you're going to be good at it. It's going to be amazing. Sometimes you have to find the right thing though. So if you do something and it doesn't look as perfect as you want it to, don't be put off. You can try again. Or sometimes you have to go, that's not, that bit of art isn't for me. And we got regeneration. Drawing flame brings attention to your own inner flame. Are you burning brightly, casting warmth and radiance into the world? Or are you blazing too high? Don't burn yourself out doing everything all at once. Your creativity can work its way through. You don't have to do everything instantly. So just be aware that you don't have to, with your creative inspiration, you don't have to do everything all at once. You can do things a bit slower and take your time with it. Don't burn yourself out by just doing it all straight away. And also, don't burn yourself out by going, I can't do that, that's no good. Maybe you just need to try it a different way. Well, I hope that's resonated with you. I hope you enjoyed that one. Please let me know what you picked. Did it resonate for you? Where you're listening to this from, anything like that, please do let us know. We do try to check the comments and reply wherever possible. But I hope you have a magical day when you're listening to this. And goodbye.